I am Madison Timmons.
I'm Chris Soucy.
And we're paranormal specialists who live in the most haunted city on earth, Savannah, Georgia. Every day is Halloween in our line of work, so join us as we spin true tales of haunts, murders, and disturbing Savannah history. I'm Madison.
I'm Chris.
And welcome to the most haunted city on earth. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the most haunted city on earth. My name is Madison Timmons.
I'm Chris Soucy.
I'm JG Timmons.
And today we are filming...
It opened.
Shut up.
So we've been having some issues. Some strange...
Did you watch it?
Little things.
I just looked over.
But it's going to be on film.
It will be on film.
We caught it. We've been closing the door back there because there's been a lot of activity in the room back there, and then we noticed that the door was open, and we're like, when did you open the door? And apparently it just happened. So if you've been watching, I don't know. Actually, it might have been before you started your introduction. We were
rolling before I started talking.
Exactly. That's what I mean. So ideally. If you keep your eye on that door, we are trying to keep the ghosts at bay because they've been interrupting.
They've been very distracting.
Our podcast. They've been very distracting, very
Seriously.
loud, and just kind of drawing attention.
Yeah. Some things to note. There's no open door and there's no air conditioning on it now.
Right.
Yeah.
Like zero.
Yeah. We are in an industrial building.
We're in a big industrial building. There's no giraffes. There's no anything.
No, I'm like,
the weird thing was that door opened all the way open.
Yeah.
The first time, and it is, it's just weird. It's just weird.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like we got it. I mean,
we'll show the footage.
I'm sure it'll open again.
Show the footage.
Mm-hmm. So
we have to check the security camera footage.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have this whole place, security camered. So, oh, there it goes. Dang.
Okay.
That makes no sense because there's no airflow, y'all. There's no airflow, and it holds. And it held the whole last episode, the Poltergeist episode. It held the whole time.
Right.
And in literally no adjustments.
This is going to literally turn into an investigative episode.
I got my ghost kit in the back. In my car.
Yeah.
Throw the REM
We're
pod
supposed to be
down.
talking about Queen Mary.
Wait, hold on. Do you want to throw the REM pod over there?
Yeah, let's throw the REM pod. Throw the REM pod.
Okay.
But while we're doing that, let's talk about what we're going to talk about today.
So we're going to talk about the Queen Mary, which is over in California, which a lot of our listeners actually live in California, and we had a Ghostmail come through recently of somebody's experience on the Queen Mary.
Yes.
And so we basically decided, let's do a deep dive into it. In my opinion, I think the Queen Mary is way more haunted than what the Titanic could possibly even be, mostly because the Titanic is underwater. And also, like when you're getting into theory about spirits and water and things like that, a lot of times water is not super, what's the word for it? Super attractive for spirits.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of beliefs that spirits can't cross over water or that water contains them and things like that. But the Queen Mary seems to be, it never sank. So, it seems like either a ship that attracts spirits, but we'll talk about the deaths that also occurred on it.
Oh, Chris got his REM pod.
Oh, boy.
Got his toys.
Got my toys.
Nice. All right, so right now he's opening, for the people listening, not watching, he's opening his REM pod. We'll just throw it back there, talk about the Queen Mary, and we'll see what's up with it.
So interestingly, with old demon room back there, I play Mary quite often, which is the demonic possession spirit and things like that. And I've been in there the past couple nights. When you guys are seeing this, it'll be a couple weeks back, but a couple nights ago, actually both nights, I saw something just staring at me the whole time. It was just like a shadowy kind of spirit. And I couldn't tell if it's our old friend who has the red eyes or if it was something else. But that room in particular is probably the most active room.
It's super active. I mean, that's why we were hearing all those noises. And I shut the door because there were all these noises. And I'm like stop. Like, we have to shoot this podcast, and they're cutting off our stories and stuff. They're cutting off what we're talking about because we're so like wait, what was that?
Well, because you'll just
Chris taking photos. Here we go.
Well, because you'll just hear like a bunch of nonsense going on behind you, or you'll feel like somebody walking around over there, and you're like, what in the world? Like,
so does the REM pod work off of motion, Chris? All right, so it has motion, temperature, and magnetic. And so if there's something back there moving the door, it'll get it.
Should. There's no guarantees.
Sure. Yeah, it's ghost hunting. Understood. All right. Well, let's go ahead and jump into the old Queen Mary now that we've been thoroughly distracted by the ghost back there.
Yeah, and the clicking noises that are going on right now.
Yeah.
That's fun.
It is fun.
Nobody likes clicking ghosts.
Yep, no clicking.
All right. So, Maddie, let's go ahead and get into old Queen Mary.
All right, then. So, let's start with the history of the Queen Mary. So, in 1936, the Queen Mary departed in her maiden voyage from England. It was meant to be like kind of a luxury cruise liner originally. So, she offered the finest amenities of the 1930s, which included exquisite dining rooms, swimming pools, which honestly, that's quite the luxury to have in the 30s.
1930s?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
First class swimming pool.
First class swimming pools, daily radio broadcasts, a kennel for the passengers' dogs, a children's nursery, and a hospital, because nothing screams luxury like a hospital.
Well,
you know. But you know, it's well, they definitely got their use out of the hospital. But the most attractive thing about the Queen Mary was that it was really fast. It was one of the fastest ships in use at the time.
It's a California. I know nothing about the Queen Mary. I know literally nothing.
It's docked right now in California.
Yeah, in Long Beach.
In Long Beach, California.
Yeah.
And it is a hotel now.
Okay.
But
you can stay in the Queen Mary.
It's a hotel. No way.
Yeah.
Oh man, we should do that.
I know, right?
Go. Put it on the list.
Put it on the
list. But it was a really fast ship and boasting a top speed of 32 knots.
Wow.
She could travel from England to New York in 4 days.
Okay.
Yeah, really impressive for the time. And so that was why people, especially rich people, wanted to go on this ship. Because you got to remember, too, it wasn't super common for people to fly places yet.
Certainly not transatlantic.
No, exactly not. So, if you had the money, that was like the ideal vacation you could take is going aboard the Queen Mary.
Yeah. 4 days on the Queen Mary.
Yeah.
4 days in New York. And 4 days back on the Queen Mary.
There you go. And her parent companies, it was a recently merged Cunard and White Star Line, which was desperate for success. Cunard had gone broke during the Great Depression, which happened to a lot of businesses.
Oh,
that's not to say that they were a bad company or anything.
What, luxury liners going out of business during the Depression?
And the White Star Line was still scarred by the Titanic. And the Britannic. So they kind of threw a Hail Mary, no pun intended.
That's so clever.
With the Mary. But it was a success. And so the RMS Queen Mary dominated transatlantic travel, holding the blue ribband from 1938 to 1952, and it welcomed celebrities, politicians, and even royalty. But it was when World War II started that the ship became a military transport ship hauling between 5,000 and 15,000 soldiers across the world.
Wow.
And that was when things took a dark turn.
Oh, boy.
I know. No. So let's talk about the deaths.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. So at least 47 people died aboard the Queen Mary during her time at sea, and that's just the documented deaths.
47?
That is the documented deaths.
Whoa.
It gets, yeah.
Okay.
And so one of them included a young crew member named John Petter, who was crushed by a door.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you know a lot about the Queen Mary.
I'm familiar with the Queen Mary.
Yes.
Okay. Crushed by a door.
Yes, during an emergency drill.
Okay. Like it turned, like the ship went like this and the door came at him, or?
I think they were sealing the doors, so the doors were all being shut, and it got shut into the,
Yikes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then another died from drinking gin that turned out to be
Bleach?
cleaning. Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or dried bleach?
Yeah,
dried cleaning?
It was cleaning fluid of some sort. Yeah. And they thought it was gin, and they died. It was gin,
and he died.
Bruh.
And I always wondered if that wasn't just murder.
Right.
This reminds me of Ghost Ship.
You know?
Well,
the movie Ghost Ship, I'm
I would
sure
imagine that Ghost Ship was deeply influenced by the Queen Mary.
Had to be, because it was a cruise line.
Yep.
Yeah.
Dang.
And so the rest supposedly died of natural causes, but that's 2 out of 47 people who have died, and all, 45 of the rest died of natural causes.
That's still a lot of deaths.
That's a lot of deaths.
A ton of deaths.
I don't believe that they were all natural causes, but,
There's I'm sure we're getting to it, because there's a little girl ghost on the ship, and I remember distinctly, like, was there a little girl death? Like, you're talking about the little girl, because the little girl it shows up in the pool and sometimes in the engine room, and just weird things like that. And it's like, was she a passenger, or was she a displaced, like when it went into dry? Because it's been a hotel for a while. So is she a hotel like spirit that just kind of, I'm going on this thing, and then they're like, this is awesome, and just hung out.
Right.
So I want to go back to the guy who drank
bleach
and thought it was gin.
Let's face it, gin doesn't taste great. So, it may take a little, you're like, something's wrong with this gin.
I actually love
something
gin.
wrong with you. So,
well, yeah, I do. I like good gin though. I like herbaceous gin. So do you.
Well, yeah.
Herbaceous
gin's my
gin
favorite liqueur.
Yeah, it is.
You will.
Gin and tonic is awesome.
I love a gin and tonic. So it's
that's a very southern drink.
Yeah.
Yes,
that's fair.
But I want to just go back. So what's the story? What's the story? Is there like a more to the story, or
that's
just
literally
that?
it? That's
my guess is that it was in a jar, or it was not labeled.
Yeah, in something.
And he assumed that it was gin, and maybe they kept it in mason jars. Maybe
and so we didn't spit it out because there's a very, very specific. Taste.
Some people when they drink hard liquor try to just get it over with. They're not trying to savor it. They're just like, I want to get drunk, not this is sip and drink. So it's possible that he just took a shot.
It was bleach?
So here's the thing, too.
Something just popped.
Yeah.
Popped.
Well, I was going to say, it's funny because it's very quiet now. All of that, that we were hearing earlier in the day, there's like sounds of shuffling, there's sounds of clicking, there's what I thought sounded like something dragging. It's very quiet. But now there was just one sound.
Man. I'm here all the time by myself. I don't hear any of that. That's crazy.
Well,
but you're not here talking ghosts.
That's what I'm saying. That was my point. Is like, I'm just over here editing or writing or doing something, and I never hear any. Those are burbs.
No, I'm guessing I can hear a playground because I just heard a scream.
Oh, yeah. The playground.
I think there's a playground nearby, but it sounded like a very distinct, high-pitched scream.
Yeah. That's definitely the kids.
Right.
Definitely kids. But I think that it's because we're talking ghosts. That's why they show up.
I'm also
it's
this one.
It is this one, isn't it?
Here.
Isn't it?
In it.
I'm also sitting in their rocking chair. They love this rocking chair, and that doesn't help.
It's our rocking chair.
They don't care. Yeah. They do not care.
We own that rocking.
Like, show us the receipts.
Property of the Savannah. Kiwan could.
Yeah,
Kiwan could.
That's fair.
Yeah.
He pulled that bad boy so fast.
But anyways,
all right.
So
we have gotten off topic.
That's all right. That's
what we do.
The ghosts are being rambunctious today. Anyways, So hundreds of others are said to have also died on the Queen Mary prior to her retirement. Like I said, undocumented. So these could have been, deaths that they didn't want reported.
Yeah, I was about to say, how do you undocument a death on a ship?
You just don't document it.
You don't document
Well, I know, but why is the point?
Well,
that's what I mean.
It could have been, people they didn't want documented. Stowaways, yep.
Ooh.
Things, all sorts of reasons. But
sinister plots.
Wait, we didn't finish the guy drinking.
There's nothing else
that's
on
all we
it.
know. All we know.
More. You don't just swig a
You keep
cleaner.
going there. I will see.
You don't swig a cleaner. You just don't do it. You spit it out. It doesn't taste like gin. Although I don't know what bleach tastes like, but it definitely doesn't taste like gin.
Well, it wasn't bleach. It was some
cleaning fluid.
Cleaning fluid.
And a shot of cleaning fluid is not going to kill you. It might make you throw up. It's not going to kill you.
Oh,
Well,
yes, it will. Industrial. Try drinking some Drano and see how that does for you. As a matter of fact, Drano is so very, very toxic. Do not ingest Drano.
So there you go.
If
But
you've seen Heather's, you would know.
it's true.
Before history is written, it's played. Before it's frozen in time, it's fought one shift at a time. Before it's etched in silver, it's carved in ice. What happens next will last forever. The Stanley Cup Final on ABC and ESPN Plus begins Saturday.
In 1939, the ship was drafted into military service. Britain believed her size and speed would keep her safe from German U-boats, and they were right.
Yeah.
It is also rumored that Adolf Hitler offered a $250,000 reward to any submarine captain who could successfully sink her.
Really?
It didn't work out.
No.
So
I know a couple other things he did that didn't work out.
no, you're not wrong. But the Queen Mary was so efficient that the military would often cram 15,000 soldiers into its spaces that were only designed for 2,200 passengers.
Wow. Okay.
Now that's a big problem because basically, we'll get into that in a second, but that was also the reason why a lot of people would pass. But before we get into that, though, when they did turn it into a military ship, they would take obviously all the fine decor away, all the beautiful amenities would be kind of covered into what?
This suggests that it was acid.
Ooh.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You know that
Which
gin flavored
again,
acid
was if you drink fast, you can't spit it out. Once it's past your gullet,
Yeah.
you're done. So
I guess the guy's just trying to maybe get wasted, and he doesn't want to sip the gin because that's what I like. When I have gin, I like to sip it and enjoy it. And
He's a worker. So
Chris, this says his name was Stark, which is weird
Stark.
because we have a Stark ghost.
it's true. But so when she was made into a military boat, she would have been painted navy gray, and her portholes would have been blacked out and welded shut. And that, because of the look that they gave it, she was re-nicknamed to the Gray Ghost.
The Gray Ghost.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah. In the summer, the soldiers, you know how I told you that 15,000 of them would be crammed in there. They would sleep shoulder to shoulder above deck and took turns sleeping in bunks below deck.
Okay.
There was little airflow because of this, and so it made the cabin suffocatingly hot. And some soldiers died from heat exhaustion, while others jumped ship.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was such brutal conditions that people would rather jump off the ship.
Oh my gosh. This place this ship sounds haunted as
Oh yeah, it's so
so
famously haunted.
Yeah.
I want to say that before there were a lot of ghost hunting shows, you still would have heard about the Queen
Right.
Mary. I knew about the Queen Mary long before anything else, just because the stories are endlessly intriguing and interesting. And I want to say that when it first became a hotel, there was a lot of the ghost story element to it.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think they leaned into it a little.
I'm gonna tell you,
Oh,
that's
I feel like something's kicking my chair, and so I was looking to see if it was either of your feet.
Me.
Okay.
Splendid. Okay.
All right.
So, anyways,
That's this has like made it to the kind of the top of my list. I didn't even know about this thing.
Oh, it's crazy.
Oh, Queen Mary?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's
I think
insane.
we gotta get over there.
An amazing bit of footage of a full body apparition like on the ship.
Yeah.
If we dug for it, we would find it. I think it was debunked, but the weird thing about the debunking of it was it involved a very large pane of glass. I was like, how do you get a very large pane of glass in place to do this illusion?
Interesting.
Because the belief was that somebody got this footage by placing a pane of glass and then using the reflective, kind of like the haunted mansion.
Sure.
Right.
The only thing is, how do you maneuver a pane of glass on a hotel?
Right.
Did you bring this big piece of plexiglass on with you? Did nobody notice?
So weird. So, on a one rather gruesome rumor is that a galley crew locked a chef in his own oven one night.
Yes.
What? Roasting him alive.
Yeah.
Okay. How do you do that?
You throw a person in an oven.
Oh, that was on purpose. It's malicious.
It was murder. He was
yes.
murdered by his staff. We imagine Gordon Ramsay times 10, and a bunch of people going, I got enough of that.
Right.
Throw him into the oven.
So he murdered him by throwing him in the oven. That must have been just straight up.
It was a crew.
hate.
It was a crew that.
Yeah, that was just hate.
Yeah.
That
the suggestion was that it was multiple crew members.
Yes.
It was like a
Whoa.
weird little mutiny in the
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
a mutiny, isn't it?
yeah,
Yeah. There is.
kitchen.
So
Righteous.
there technically is no record of this happening.
Yeah, no, it's
but-
definitely legend. Because there's
but-
another one, isn't there, about a prisoner
Yes.
who was they like took a guy prisoner and they locked him in a room, and then when they went to transport him to the authorities, he was like ripped to shreds. He was like literally like his entrails were all over the place, and they couldn't figure out how it happened. That I believe has been long debunked as. It's like the worst example of Pardon Our Dust.
Oh yeah.
Because they were working on the ship and turning like 3 of the small cabins into suites, into big rooms. And to explain why, they told the story that this room was where this horrible
true.
event happened.
Oh my god.
And it was like, oh. And I want to say that was Disney that did that.
Oh yeah.
Because Disney owned it. Walt Disney, not Disney the man, the company, owned the Queen Mary when it was first a hotel, I think.
Really?
Again,
Okay.
a lot of this is fuzzy because I don't have it in front of me, but I don't remember whether or not, because that story is the reason why, because there's a really, really haunted room, right?
There is. Yep. We'll
B340?
Yeah, I think you're right. It's B340.
Wow.
There you go.
Chris knows a lot about the Queen Mary.
Yes.
He's like, oh, it's fuzzy.
It was one of the only documented.
It's B340.
Well, it was one of the only documented things. Like when you go, the dark ages of looking for ghosts. It was just one that was very readily available.
Right.
Lots of people talked about the Queen Mary.
So,
yeah. I'm going to tell you right now, Chris, that like these ghosts, they hate that green light that you put up because they always shut it off.
Is it off?
It is.
They hate it.
What the heck?
Like this happened when we were
In Graveface.
Graveface.
Too. They're like, nobody likes a laser
Does it have
pointer.
an does it have an auto shut off?
No, it's literally got a bar on it.
Oh, lovely.
So
Maybe
They
it was
don't like it.
Maybe it was whoever was kicking my chair came in
absolutely.
and said, because whatever is going on is not happy with me having their chair. Anyways, so after it was started becoming the military ship, the number of deaths went up to 300 reported deaths.
Whoa.
So
A lot of loss of life on that, huh?
yes, in October of 1942, the ship accidentally collided with the HMS Curacao,
Okay.
which was a much smaller cruiser that was escorting her around the Irish coast. The Curacao was zigzagging in front of the Mary, hoping to throw off any potential missile attacks, when a 82,000-ton ship mistakenly plowed into it, breaking it in half.
Yep, that'll do it.
Yeah.
Wow.
And some of the crew died instantly. Others drowned or succumbed to hypothermia in the freezing water.
Holy crap.
So, yeah, Mary's a hardcore hardcore gal. So
Mary's a hardcore gal.
You could imagine that if your ship is hit by another ship, grabbing onto the ship that's not sinking, makes sense for a spirit.
It's true. The Mary never stopped to rescue them.
Just mow it over and be like,
whoops. Literally.
What happened? I don't know.
It's
not there anymore.
It was in my way.
As it would have compromised the thousands of soldiers on board, and an estimated 329 men died as a result.
Goodness gracious.
So the truth of what happened was sealed until the war ended 3 years later.
Okay.
So that's a huge sign of disrespect too. Not paying honor to people who died. Not expressing how they died. That's recipe for haunting.
Yes.
No, it is. It absolutely is.
So by then, the Queen Mary had undergone a 10-month renovation that, when the war ended, they erased any remnants of military life. Another reason why they might be so haunted is because they literally said, we're just going to forget that ever happened.
We're a luxury cruiser.
We're luxury again. And so they covered it in paintings and fine china and Art Deco furniture. And they restored all of that in the cabins and dining rooms, which meant she was ready to razzle and dazzle the rich, famous, and powerful once again.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
That's wild.
So when you get into the hauntings, the ship is reportedly haunted by over 100 spirits, and the most infamous being the spirit of stateroom B340, where paranormal activity is so frequent and intense that some members of the crew refuse to go inside, including the current captain.
What?
Yeah.
And I believe if we went on like YouTube or anything, we would find lots of people, ghost hunters, who spent the night in that room.
Dang it. No, they didn't hear it. I got too much compression. It was a loud bang, like a knock.
And the light's off now.
Yeah, the light's been off.
Oh,
no, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I grabbed it.
Okay.
Yep.
As an experiment, I'm going to go turn off the REM pod.
Ooh.
Because I think that a lot of the quiet is because
They're like,
they're on.
They don't like the REM pod.
They don't
Yeah.
like detachment.
Yeah, that's got to be it.
Because they've been very quiet this whole time.
They have been quiet. Hey, we know the REM pod works.
yeah.
REM pod works.
Oh, yeah. Gracious.
So, everyone.
Ghosties of the Savannah Underground.
That's true. So everyone seems to have their own story about who haunts the room. But in 1948, a third-class passenger named Walter J. Adamson mysteriously died there. Another theory claims staff locked a man in his third-class room after he murdered 2 women in the 1960s.
Oh, wow.
During the night, he began beating on the door, screaming to the guard outside that something was in the room with him. When they opened the door in the morning, they found his bloody, mangled body.
Oh, my God.
He had been ripped apart.
Yeah, that was the story I was telling. However, again, that specific story seems to be traceable.
Right.
Like, it seems to be, traceable to a source, like who first told it. Because I think it came up in the 80s, I guess.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
Somewhere in there.
But when the ship was retired in 1967, 3 third-class rooms were combined with to create a larger hotel room, which became B340.
Okay.
Not long after, guests began reporting odd things. One woman said she was woken when the bed covers were ripped off her in the middle of the night. She then saw a man looming over the end of the bed. Others have heard phantom voices and claim that the faucets turned on by themselves. The ship received so many negative reports throughout the 1970s that B340 was closed to the public for over 30 years.
Gracious.
It was reopened as a haunted attraction in 2018, though the key comes with a fierce warning. Even the current captain, like I said, is scared to go into it. Other haunted areas include the former first-class swimming pool, boiler room number 4, and the doorway where John Petter was tragically crushed during an emergency drill. Petter's ghost is often spotted wearing blue coveralls, And sometimes he'll run behind people whistling as if warning them. Other times he'll ask guests if they've seen his wrench. When they return back to him, he's gone.
So how much does B340 cost?
$400 a night, I think. Well,
that's actually not horrible. I thought they were going to be like all like expensive.
Right. By the 1960s, commercial flight had become the preferred method of transportation, and the thriving ocean liner industry had gone dry. The golden years of transatlantic travel was over. Despite her 1930s luxuries, the Queen Mary couldn't compete with modern cruise ships.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 up front for 3 months plus taxes and fees. Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month. Slows full terms at mintmobile.com.
So Cunard eventually made the difficult decision to sell her to the city of Long Beach, where she would serve as a tourist attraction and hotel. With the exception of a few modern updates, the Mary still looks like she did back in the day. Very grand and glamorous, and it's known as the Ship of the Woods due to the impressive number of mixed woods used in its construction.
Oh.
Other spirits do include, obviously, the little girl spirit who's seen by the pool, and just a vast variety of different people wearing 1930s style clothing. Wet spirits have also been reported.
Wet footprints.
Yeah, wet footprints.
Handprints.
You know, typical type things that you would account for people who died at sea.
Yes.
All right. I need answers. And I think the listeners do too. So I ask y'all, what is this a multitude of ghosts, or is this like one thing? Because there seems to be a lot of like with B340, and then just why is Queen Mary just so haunted? Why are there so many deaths? That's what I want to know.
Well, let's start at the age of this ship, of this vessel. How many people walked on? How many people walked off? How many people died on board? How many people died as a result of the ship? That gives you just a kind of a ground zero for paranormal activity. You know, the paranormal can definitely derive a lot just on the energy of what happened, the number of lives affected, the number of lives touched, even ones that did not die on board. There was so much that went into that place. Hotels are notoriously haunted.
Sure.
We'll start there. Hotels are incredible, like lightning rods for ghostly behavior. Ships generally don't make it to 100 years old and still be in function. Certainly not large ships. This gives us kind of an idea of the fact that there's refuge for spirits that die at sea. And Lord knows we've talked about how many myths and legends come from the idea that spirits can't really reside in the sea. You know, they have a hard time crossing water. So vessels on water oftentimes collect ghosts. Like if you die at sea and a boat passes by, your spirit will go onto the boat because it has nowhere else to be.
Sure.
It has nowhere else to go. And you hear these kinds of stories all over. People use water to ward off spirits all over the place. You know, even the concept of a moat has a secondary supernatural. I'm putting water around so that spirits cannot cross over and get me. You know, bridges are notorious for angering water spirits. So there's all kinds of notions that any vessel that travels over the sea can collect spirits, and a luxury one at that. And so yeah, the Queen Mary, famously haunted. You know, just so many people put their stake into this luxury haunted ship, and that helps.
Yeah.
You know, when everybody's like, yeah, that's a haunted ship.
We're talking about it in Savannah, Georgia.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's true.
On the other side of the country.
Yeah.
Sorry, there was a black figure that just ran past over here.
Welcome to my life, Chris.
Yeah, so if, for those of you watching on YouTube who just saw me staring off into the distance, that's why.
Yeah, very active today.
Very.
Very, very. It's because we're filming maybe on a Monday, and they're not used to this.
That we're not usually in.
Yeah, we always film Sundays
on Monday mornings.
Yeah,
that's true.
They're like, we've got a schedule here.
Yeah, it's because y'all are here. I'm always here on a Monday morning, so.
Yeah, it's true. Poor Debria is going to be editing this, and she's like, "What?"
Yeah,
no, because she's the one in here who's like in here at night and stuff, like by herself.
Oh yeah,
editing these podcasts. So
listening to us be very spooky and scary about it.
Right. So poor Debria.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think a lot of the Queen Mary does have to do with the people who have died on the ship, but also the people who have died because of the ship. And then also, just the fact that it literally mowed over a whole ship.
Right.
Yeah.
And nobody was rescued by the Queen Mary. That's going to leave a little bit of
resentment there. Yeah.
I want to know how many people usually die on ships. Like, is this an unusual number? Because I feel like anywhere you're gonna have people, you're gonna have death, right?
Yes.
But and this is a lot of people, very transient. A lot like this building, actually. Being an old train station, you probably had some people drop dead here and there,
easily.
And I don't know. I just feel like
it was just odd, the number of people. Well, and here's the thing. I think a lot of the number of the Queen Mary deaths are heightened because of when it was military.
Sure.
Because like we were saying, it was basically they crammed all these people into a non-ventilated room and made them sleep there. Of course people are going to die.
Yeah.
And sea travel being what it is and the luxury that it was and the price point that it was, you probably had a lot of older people traveling,
sure.
and crossing overseas. And sea travel can be rigorous and can, have all kinds of complications to it. Everything from food poisoning to, extreme dehydration because of seasickness. And then you get people who are close to infirmed or very old who are, not used to this kind of change. So I don't know the numbers of people who regularly die on ships, but given that it was a luxury vessel with the period of time of being a warship, is a luxury vessel for 60 plus years. Or
right.
Do you think
40
that
plus years.
It's a cursed ship? Do you think that it's a cursed ship in the way that there's been a ton of death? It's probably, if you did the statistics, you're probably talking about under 1% of all passengers been on there have died, or thoroughly under 1%. But that's still a ton. I don't know. This just seems like a ton.
But it's hard to say. And the issue isn't, is it cursed, suggesting that the ship is causing the deaths?
Yeah.
As much as it is the series of events that, of course, like the wartime service, the conditions of travel, needing upgrades, great upgrades. The fact that it had a hospital on it tells you the expectancy of people requiring hospital treatment, of things that might go wrong. So I don't think of Savannah as cursed, but it is a highly haunted place. So that's kind of the sensation I feel. It is a highly volatile paranormal site, given the occurrences aboard.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say that people were doomed getting on, or
right.
That there was a darkness to it. However, I want to say that people who've gone into that B30 340 do mention and note a dark sensation,
there's definitely something in that room.
Entity.
Wow.
So then, all right. I'm gonna kind of throw something out of left field. You said that it was built with a bunch of different type of wood, right?
Right.
And maybe, just maybe, some of that wood is from a sacred place.
Sure.
What
Just
if
certain types of wood have paranormal properties? There are certain types of wood keep spirits at bay, and some types of woods draw spirits in.
Like the color ain't blue being, it's just like it's like a natural color. I mean, it's a natural thing that keeps spirits at bay or, keeps them out or in.
Yeah, exactly. I think that there are cultures that utilize certain wood for very specific, spiritual purposes. I know like willow trees are oftentimes used to protect and to keep things at bay. I want to say the Chinese will make like wooden swords out of willow to fight supernatural things, and so there's a lot of stories about wood having specific properties. And it's possible that conflicting wood.
That's what I mean.
Two types of wood that may not have the same spiritual mojo. Putting them next to each other might have.
I wonder where the woods, like how many different types of wood and where it came from. Because like I wonder if they pulled some of that wood from like a burial ground or something maybe. Like that, and that's how these things are attached to it. I'm just trying to. I mean, I don't know. I just
I mean, there's a lot of theories that you can come up with. Where do they source their furnishing?
Right.
Where do they, the shipyard in which it was put together. Were there, during the building, did people die while they were making it? While they were, that's a rigorous job with lots of dangerous components to it. There may be deaths that were not even considered because the Queen Mary wasn't even the Queen Mary at the time.
Yeah.
Maybe it was when they were pulling the metal together, people were dying. Maybe when,
that's true.
There is countless ways to speculate, but speculation or not, so many people have experiences aboard this ship. It predates the popularization of ghost hunting and the popularization of the media really going gaga over ghost stories. So there's definitely something there.
Cool. Absolutely. All right. Well, there you have it, the Queen Mary.
Queen Mary.
The old Queen Mary.
It's a pretty fun haunted ship.
It's on our Patreon list now.
Yes,
it's definitely on our list.
But thank you guys so much for listening and bearing with us through our rambunctious ghosts today. But if you would like to join us over on Patreon, you can join us under the Savannah Underground. And we have all sorts of fun things coming up here soon, including some Parajunkie exclusive episodes up in North Carolina, discussing Appalachian folk tales and hauntings and taking you to a secret cemetery. So if you're interested in things like that, consider becoming a Parajunkie. But with that, my name is Madison Timmons.
I'm Chris Soucy.
And stay spooky, y'all.